Hi again, Gregg Bell, the News Tribune. Welcome to what tomorrow will be the start of the fourth week of the Seahawks coaching search to replace Pete Carroll since they fired him on January 10th. Today, Tuesday, January 30th, a twist in the Seahawks coaching search and that of the Washington Commanders, the other head coaching vacancy in the NFL right now. The only two remaining. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for Detroit, said he is staying with the Lions. He pulled himself out of contention for the head coaching job at Washington and Seattle. That announcement came a morning after Seahawks general manager John Schneider flew by private plane to Detroit to interview Johnson for the second time and first time in person. That plane then went on to Baltimore and interviewed John Schneider on Tuesday, January 30th, interviewed Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. Macdonald, 36 years old, coached the defense and had the schemes, very disguised, changing schemes that befuddled the Kansas City Chiefs for most of the AFC title game. Baltimore lost 17-10. Befuddled Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, and the San Francisco 49ers when Baltimore dominated San Francisco on Christmas night. He has been the front runner in my mind for a couple weeks now. Macdonald is why the Seahawks have slow played this and why John Schneider has gone this far without naming a coach. The Seahawks are waiting to talk to Macdonald, either when the Ravens were eliminated from the playoffs, or if the Ravens had gone to the Super Bowl, Schneider was willing to wait by NFL rules till after the Super Bowl to talk to Macdonald if he had to. That's 2 more weeks now, of course. That now that the Ravens lost, he doesn't have to wait. So he talked to Macdonald for the first time today, on Tuesday the 30th of January. Where does Ben Johnson pulling out leave the Seahawks coaching search? Well, Macdonald, to me, the front runner to fix a defense that's been the worst part of the team the last couple of years. They still have Dan Quinn. I hate to say in their back pocket, but they know him better than anybody in the NFL. John Schneider, of course, the GM, when Pete Carroll had Quinn as their defensive coordinator in Seattle for 2 Super Bowl runs in 2013 and 14 when the Seahawks had the best defense in the NFL. Of course, they had players that are nowhere, the Seahawks' current caliber, nowhere near that of the Legion of Boom days when Quinn was running it. So they know him, and they've interviewed him twice, most recently late last week, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. But I'm sensing and listening to John Schneider last week that this is going to be a clean break from Carroll and that they really do want an offensive head coach. An offense-first head coach. Of course, Carroll was a defensive coach first, and for 14 years they've had that atop the organization. It would appear to me that they want that most of all in a perfect world. So who's now the offensive-minded candidate still out there? Well, the one that's most prominent figuring is Mike Kafka. 36 years old, offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. You say, New York Giants, one of the worst offensive lines. The Seahawks sacked Dan Jones 11 times in early October when they won 24-3 in the Meadowlands. Why would they be talking to the Giants offensive coordinator? Well, Mike Kafka was the quarterback's coach under Andy Reid, then passing coordinator under Andy Reid for 4 seasons before he got the Giants job. And he won a Super Bowl, has a Super Bowl ring, coaching Pat Mahomes in the Chiefs offense for 4 seasons. There's a lot of intrigue for that and picking his brain on what he knows about current NFL offenses. Schneider has said he wants to learn through this process, and he wants to learn new ways for the Seahawks to win. Most of all, he wants to learn how to beat the San Francisco 49ers. To me, that's what makes Macdonald the most logical candidate of the ones remaining now. Macdonald, as I mentioned, dominated San Francisco on Christmas night. 4 interceptions for Brock Purdy, most of his starting career. 52% completion rate that night, second worst since Purdy became an NFL starter. And the Ravens crushed the 49ers in Santa Clara. Seattle hasn't come close to doing anything of that sort against the 49ers for the last couple seasons. Until the Seahawks can beat the 49ers, they're not getting out of the NFC West, which means they're not having home playoff games, which they're not going back to the Super Bowl. The big question remains behind all this, what's the future quarterback for Seattle? Geno Smith is the quarterback of the present, but they don't have one of the future. That's what they were talking to Ben Johnson about. That's what they were talking to Mike Macdonald about. No doubt they've talked to Mike Kafka about. That is an interesting subplot to all of this, many of the subplots, but that's the most prominent one. So as we stand, the Seahawks have Mike Macdonald, they have Dan Quinn, they have Mike Kafka, They have two others they've interviewed twice. Giro Evero, the young defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. They've also talked to Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders. All my coverage is at thenewstribune.com, on Twitter at GBellSeattle. Stay patient, Seahawk fans. This will eventually end, and you will have a new head coach. It'll be interesting to see which way they go. Thanks for watching.